Brother, ew. That felt like the best way to start.
Yep.
All right, we're here. Caution to the Airwaves. Maybe a different name. I don't know.
Maybe.
But here with a new co-host. Now, this has kind of been a long time in the making, right? We've talked about this. A lot of things going on. I mean, ups and downs. This podcast has started and stopped. But we're here today, and we're going to try to have some consistency. We might have to find a new producer, which saddens me deeply. Brother Ew. Not okay.
Ew.
Brother Ew. Brother Ew. You trying to, people, my boy, he wants to pursue his music career, and that annoys me. No, I'm just joking. I'm very happy for him, and I want him to do it, and that's why, that's all that needs to be said. But there's still more. We obviously we're gonna figure this all out. This is something in the making, but you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere, and I just want to start by saying that I think it's funny how I'm in a room with two dudes all these years later. That you guys are actually two people that I've known probably the longest, that I'm still in contact with in my life. Obviously, I've mentioned in the past, my boy, who was literally since age 1, pre-1 years old, literally my next door neighbor growing up, and my boy, new co-host, Nick Spencer.
Sir.
We literally go back to St. Joe's Catholic school days.
At least 4th grade.
Yeah. Fuck, I always feel like it's worth mentioning that your dad was my first basketball coach. First of all, go ahead and take the mic out, and I'm going to pull the Rogan on you. Keep it
Grab that. Yeah,
there we go. There we go. Yeah, no, and I don't know. It's always worth mentioning because I love basketball.
Yeah.
And basketball is a big thing in my life. And your dad, you always remember your first, coach / role model. And, and we're talking pre-K kindergarten, teaching us how to shoot a free throw.
Yep.
And the one thing he always said that never left was, it's called a free throw for a reason. It's a free shot. So you better make that shit.
He was learning how to play basketball as he was coaching, which is hilarious. You know what I mean?
But,
but it's funny. It worked, man.
I love it. Not only did it work, he couldn't have nailed the concept better. It instills that discipline of, it's a free throw. You should be making these. So it puts that pressure on, I don't care if it's pressure or not. You got to make these. And also, the second advice was, put the ball, that square behind the hoop. That is a target. If you touch it at the right place, it's going to go in the basket.
Yep.
And that's just pretty simple basics right there. Especially when you're learning shooting, don't worry about the rim yet. Fucking, especially at the free throw, straight on, hit that box and it's going in. So, yeah. Worth mentioning there. But yeah, and then so you're a year younger than me, right?
Yeah.
You graduated 2009.
2011.
11. Oh, that's what I'm saying. I was going the other way with it.
Yeah.
2011. Yep. And so what now I'm blanking where I wanted to go with this to begin with. So obviously this is a MMA based podcast. More as started as a fandom on my half. I just I've mentioned this before, the countless times I've restarted this podcast. Just how much of a fan I am of the sport. It's just become my favorite sport. It's what I'm into. I could go on and on why it's the greatest. For one, there's no season. It's just all year round. Constant action, constant things happening, moving parts, different organizations, yada yada yada. And you were really the first person I knew ever personally that got into training.
Yeah.
And training. And did it start with jiu-jitsu?
No, it started with Muay Thai, actually. I wanted to do jiu-jitsu all throughout high school. I just didn't have any money, right? So I had to wait till I graduated high school, got a job. Expensive. It is. It's an investment. That's what I say. When people say it's expensive, it's definitely an investment.
I just because I want to let you give the whole background story, but just to piggyback off that, because it's not expensive. I want to say that because I come from a yoga background. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Same prices. So people hear because they're like, why would I do that? I pay $35 a month for my gym membership. It's all relative to what you need and what you want.
Exactly.
And for myself with yoga, my back was horrific. I walked in there it's $120 a month. You could come unlimited as many times as you want. And I was like, okay.
It's a no-brainer.
Like, the thing is, I did but there's usually a new student sign up, right? Is that the same thing? There's usually kind of a new student, a discounted monthly rate. You get to probably try it. And then when you realize that it's something that you absolutely need, like for me, it was the answer to all my back problems. That $110, $20 turned into, I would give up the rest of my life to make that happen because I need that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I would assume it's probably the same thing.
It's the same thing. There's like jiu-jitsu. A saying that everybody says, like, jiu-jitsu is for everyone, which I agree, but not everyone is for jiu-jitsu, right? So it's the same concept with yoga. So, like, yeah, it's for you, but are you for that, you know?
Yeah, it's like someone's like, well, I would do it, but it's so expensive. I'm like, well, if you did it and you loved it, you wouldn't look at it as expensive. You look at it like the ultimate investment, your most important investment, maybe even.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you get into jiu-jitsu and you fucking love it, and all of a sudden you're addicted to it, yeah, it's
a good addiction to have.
And guess what? Guess what too? It'll also show you where you're spending, like, in a stupid fashion with other things. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be like, because if I got a budget better and make it work, you're like, oh shit, I was spending mad money eating out, or I was going, whatever you want to say, like I was going to movies every week, or you know, I could cut that down. Before you know, it's like, how little we need to cut out of our life just to accumulate an extra $100 a month.
Exactly.
Deal, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Cut out that toxic bullshit, you know, and put it towards something positive, like an art or a trade or you know, yeah. So all right, so tell me, you said it started with Muay Thai. I thought it was jiu-jitsu.
No, I started in Muay Thai when I was like 18. As soon as I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to start with jiu-jitsu, but for whatever reason, there just wasn't a gym near me. So I found a Muay Thai gym.
Where was that gym?
It was in the city of Newburgh. It was on Broadway at the time.
Okay.
It was there for like a short period of time.
It was only Muay Thai?
Only Muay Thai, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I lucked out that I like ended up at a really like traditional Muay Thai school, and it was like really cool, the people there, and it was great. And then I started fighting Muay Thai like soon, like a year into Muay Thai, I started taking fights, and I wasn't super successful, you know. And I realized that like with my body, I'd be better at jiu-jitsu because Muay Thai, I'm short, you know. I'm not tall, I'm not lanky, so I figured out
also
real quick.
Coming from a sports background and already having probably being banged up a little
bit. Concussions, right? So concussions in football. You know? We played football. All we did was hit with our heads. You know, that's what we were taught, and that's all we did. So Muay Thai, same thing, getting concussions and everything. Then I realized jiu-jitsu, it's hard on the joints, but it's a lot easier on the brain. Yeah. So I started with jiu-jitsu, and then I was lucky enough to teach striking at a jiu-jitsu school and kind of barter my membership that way. Because like you said, it's expensive. It's definitely, and then I was able to fall in love with jiu-jitsu from there. Now I'm opening up a school, and full circle, you know, 10 and a half years later or something like that. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
And off that, so do you remember the first time, or what got you into, I guess, MMA aside, like what was the first combat sport? Do you remember, like early? Like childhood?
Watching?
What maybe?
Because I got a story about watching. I got a few. So the first time I ever saw MMA was I went on a family vacation, and my dad bought like Ultimate Knockouts 1. It's like Tank Abbott, you know, he bought like some pay-per-view. Yeah, so we watched it, and it like, I just remember watching this dude Tank Abbott beat people up, and it was pretty cool. And then I was probably, I don't know, 11 at the time. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to do that. I always liked Mike Tyson and stuff like that. Yeah. My dad was a wrestler, so it was always like combat sports. I always just kind of like got a glimpse of it, but never really dove in. And then, so now I take it to like high school, 15, 16 years old. Me and my buddies would buy, you know, cheap gloves from Kmart, and we would try to do backyard fights and stuff like that. And it was kind of like a fun thing to do. And I knew like once I could like financially afford to train, I was going to do it. So luckily I ended up going to Evolution for jiu-jitsu, and it's like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So, and then now it's looking to be my career. Yeah.
That's funny though, the backyard fighting, because my brother boxes, he's currently still pursuing it, trains or whatever, and he started with like him and his friends got gloves and were fighting in the backyard. And I'll never forget being in the kitchen, probably stoned, with like one time, a specific one. I was with Justin Geyer. We were like stoned eating snacks in the kitchen, and my brother and his friends were out back fighting. And like one of the kids walks in, this little kid, and they had to have been like 13, 12 years old. He was like the shortest one. Comes in like black eye and like a hematoma, like bleeding, and he just walks right by us, and like kind of waddling by us, like all slowly. And me and Justin just looked at each other and just blurted out laughing. Like,
that's
just
hilarious.
died right there. But yeah, so now after all this, so I mean, obviously, I think there's way more to that too. Like you went to Thailand.
I could go on forever.
Did you go to Thailand more than once?
I went to Thailand twice. Yeah, 2017, 2019.
First off, what is that flight like? What is that travel day like?
Oh, it's terrible. 23 hours on the flight.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rough. The first time I went was 1 month, so I was able to like adjust.
Was there how many stopovers?
Just one. It was like China or something. Yeah, the first time was China.
The other way?
Yeah,
like
so yeah. And we went right to China, and then it was like a 3-hour layover, and then to Thailand.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a brutal flight. It's tough. So basically, if you're going to Southeast Asia, you need like minimum 2 weeks to go, or else you're just going to be jet lagged the whole time. And I found that out the second time I went because I only went for 2 weeks, and it was just recovered. You did not recover. You get sick a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
I can imagine.
Yeah, but Thailand, when I was pursuing Muay Thai, I like the culture of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
I like the traditions and everything, and then
so
going to
Thailand.
They
seem the best.
Going to Thailand and see it in person, like the kids fighting, going to the stadiums and seeing how like awesome it is and how professional they are. It was like
when you say
really
stadium, how big is the stadium? Because you always hear stadiums. But
some of them are small, but yeah, I went. I did get to go to like the major stadiums like Lumpini.
What would you compare that to? Like a T-Mobile, maybe?
No, not even close. Way smaller. Really? Yeah, not even close. More like. I guess like
the Civic Center.
Yeah, something like that. Like or the bigger ones might be like a small college stadium for basketball, like something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah, like West Point.
Yeah. Not even that. Like even smaller.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And is that where the professionals fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they fight around the clock, multiple times a month, and that lifestyle was cool. I really wanted to be a fighter, and then I realized like I'm probably a lot better of a coach.
Yeah.
Which was hard to come to, but then I realized, like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, but, and it helps, too, though, that you, like, went through it, though, and you, like, actually, like, you took fights. How many amateur fights did you have?
I had 9 total fights, yeah.
And was that Muay Thai?
I had seven in Muay Thai and 2 in MMA.
2 MMA.
And total record 5 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. So like when you have a record like that, you can't really go anywhere else from there. You know what I mean? You could just be like a journeyman amateur, or like a bad pro, like a very low level pro. So I realized jiu-jitsu is just a lot easier for me.
Well, the problem is too in that sport, a lot of these kids, like, it's what they start with, so they like kind of. You know what I noticed too when I took my first jiu-jitsu class at Evolution? It's like. And I've kind of, you come to realize this too. It's not enough just to know the technique. Like, you have to develop those muscles.
The muscle memories, everything.
You have to develop that. Like, people think like, oh, I could probably do well because I know the maneuvers. It's like, yeah, but you don't have the stamina to be in a crunch. Like,
it's like you ever see Bradley Martin? He's always like, I'm 260, brother. I'm 260, brother. You can't tap me. It's like, no, you'll get tapped by somebody half your size. You'll get tapped. There's females that'll tap you. Like, that's just the reality of things.
Dude, the first jiu-jitsu class I left, my core, it was like I never did a sit-up in my life. Like, my core was like... It was like to the point like I had broken ribs. Like if you cough or laugh, you're like,
You know what it is too? You're probably so tense and nervous, so you're just constant like flexed. And then once you get really used to it, it kind of like you learn to relax, and then it's like you have to push yourself extra hard to get that workout because you're just comfortable now.
Just like yoga, same thing. Like yoga.
Right.
In the beginning of yoga, you try so hard to get in things, and you realize like the real technique is like doing everything in a relaxed, and everything's about letting go, like. Finding that spot that you're holding on to too tight and like release it, and that's going to help you.
Exactly.
That's kind of similar. I've always found like mixed martial arts in general and yoga. I always loved what Rogan said. He always explained it as like yoga is like a martial art on yourself.
Yeah,
100%. And it, like sometimes there's maneuvers too you do in yoga, and it's like this is like for instance like you do a reclined pigeon, which is really just a figure 4 shape. And you pull the leg into your thing, and it's like you feel like you're throwing up a triangle.
Yeah, exactly. No, they go hand in hand for sure. Like the guys that I do train with that do yoga, they're way better at jiu-jitsu than guys that don't. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a mentality thing too. It's just helping you like whether it's like just find more balance. Like sometimes it's like it's going to help your body. I'm talking about yoga now, but it'll help your body. But a lot of times too, it could just help you mentally approach things in your life a little better. And I can see how like in martial arts like that would help so much where maybe especially if you are fighting, you're taking a fight where you're going in like stress intense where maybe you could start to flip that narrative and be like, you know what, I'm going to go in there and just like at least like remember what I was taught and not be so attached to the decision of it. Just
I feel like
flow.
I feel like when you pair the mental with the physical, that's big too. And then like injury prevention for yoga, for jiu-jitsu, and for MMA is big. Like I've had so many really bad injuries, and it's like I wish I started yoga. Meanwhile, I still didn't start yoga. I kind of did a few classes, but I wish I started when I originally started training to fight, because I've had my neck fused. I've broken my arm, broken my hand, feet, whatever. Like a lot of injuries. Just the neck surgery. That's it. Okay. Yeah. But
maybe some other ones that maybe need to be done.
Yeah, there's one of my arm. I missed it. Now, like my right arm is 2.5 inches shorter than my left, which is hilarious when I hold my arms out, because I broke my arm in an arm bar, and then I wore a sling thinking that was going to be a good idea, and then I shortened all the tendons, so now my right arm just doesn't go straight.
Yeah, dude.
But it's funny.
Which is kind of a good segue, because maybe so hopefully with your new venture you could become successful enough to get money. Maybe you do stem cells or something.
Oh, man.
I would love to have a personal friend that does it, so I can know what that feels like or does for you.
Yeah.
Because you hear so many good things. You've also heard people but I think the people that maybe doesn't work as much for it, they're just really fucked up.
Yeah,
they're like
they're too far gone.
Retired MMA fighters,
exactly,
that have never done anything like positive for their body other than.
It just sucks that it's so expensive, and it's not. It's kind of hard to get a hold of, and it just goes to show that it works. If it's expensive, it's because it works. They don't want you doing it.
So in that new venture we're talking about, though, is now after all this. And we could obviously, especially if we're doing this podcast, there's going to be so many more stories. Like I have a million questions when it comes to like Thailand and even like taking fights, because now I'm such a scatterbrain. Because now we're talking about the mental side of it. And it's like there's no amount of yoga that's ever going to have you like before a fight perfectly centered and ready. It's like the anxiety of going into a fight is always going to. It comes.
It's there. Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, I watch. Especially like a UFC main event, that tension before it, my body is like sometimes like shaking
you get the chills.
I'm just like, holy fuck, because the stakes are so high.
Yep. And I still compete in jiu-jitsu, and for me, I still get nervous every single time I go out there on the mat. I'm just like, man, I could break my arm, I could get slammed on my head, who knows? Yeah. But I always remind myself,
who's slamming you?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. But I still think to myself, like, at least I'm not getting punched in the face anymore. So that's fine.
True.
Even though I only had a handful of fights, but now jiu-jitsu for me is just fun. Yeah. I like competing. I like dealing with the nerves. Whether I win or lose, if I go out there and I compete and I try my best, it's like I leave there a better version of myself.
Yeah. And you're not doing it with the feeling of like I might catch a fucking shin to the fucking forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming at like 100 miles an hour from like a guy that's been training Muay Thai his entire life or something.
Exactly, yep.
Even though you literally did that too, so. Yeah. But this is all a journey. Which again, like especially if we're gonna be doing this, we'll come back to like I'll have so many questions, never-ending questions about like all that stuff, especially like the mentality it takes for fighting and even competing in jiu-jitsu, the difference of that, which we will get into eventually. But I feel like I almost wanted to get to this sooner because I don't want it to get lost in the middle of this first podcast, which we'll be bringing this up over and over. Yep. But you're gonna open a gym now.
Yeah, I'm opening up a gym.
And what's it going to be called?
It's called Hill Jiu-Jitsu. It's going to be in Highland, New York.
Named after the famous Snake Hill.
Yeah, Snake Hill. Yeah, it's where I grew up. Me and my brother grew up. So me and him are opening up the gym.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time coming. I've always wanted to open up my own gym.
So you're doing this partners with Steve?
Yeah.
Your brother?
Yeah. Me and him are partners in it. And
that's awesome.
It's kind of cool because my father was a wrestler and my uncle was a wrestler, and it's kind of like me and my brother are doing that now, but with jiu-jitsu, like, the next generation of grapplers. And then my brother's having babies and they're going to be grapplers, whether they know it or not. Yeah. So it's kind of cool how we're kind of like passing on that generation.
Yeah, man. And oh my God. And the knowledge you guys are taking into, because you guys are like in it. Like you and your brother are still competing.
Oh, yeah.
Steve is just a workhorse.
He's obsessed.
He's obsessed.
I wish I was as obsessed as him. Yeah. Well, I am, but in different ways. He's just like, he's so dialed in with whatever he does.
Some would say that you also laid, like you kind of like in that, even though he's the big brother, but in that, almost like in that Kelsey brother way, like you went through it first and kind of like got to lay the pavement, and then
that's a good comparison, definitely.
And then,
I'm the martial arts big brother.
Yeah. No,
he's the real big brother.
Like you get to, and that's how it is, kind of as a big brother. But in this sense, like you just got into this avenue first before him. But like sometimes you take those hits and bumps. And then they're better for it because they learn from your mistakes. Which
I'm glad I have like a 5 or 6 year head start on him, because he would be way better than me. And I'm already like trying to fight him off now, so I'm glad that.
Is he getting close?
Sometimes he gets me. Yeah, definitely. He's he's tough. He's very competitive, and he talks shit and he gets you going. It's just like when he used to play ball. It's the same thing.
Bro, Steve was an asshole on the court, bro. but you know what though?
You wanted him on your team. You didn't want to face him. It's the same way he is now.
I gotta say, I always respected it though, because like I have that little bit of me too, especially when it came to ball. Like, I grew up playing ball, and Steve was always like in the circuits and in the leagues and all that stuff. And Gold's Gym especially, I feel like Gold's Gym was the first playground where I'd see Steve at all the time. And I was always like, I'm guarding Steve because this kid talks shit. He acts like he's going to be the reason they're winning, and I'm going to be the reason they lose this time. And you
Put
know
that
what?
pressure on yourself.
He's a fucking competitor, bro. He's not easy to guard, and same thing, maybe I don't know if he'll be watching this, but Steve, if I ever see you on the court, I'm coming to guard you every time. Every time. Now, jiu-jitsu, if I start doing this, I will be approaching it very humbly and quietly. And I think that's kind of interesting too, though. So, because now I'm interested in that aspect, because I feel like in jiu-jitsu, it's a little different if you are an asshole sometimes. Is that a tactic that's happening now? Is it becoming more freely to almost like the same way in NBA or in football, they used to hand the ball to the ref and get off. Now it's all about the celebration and the
it's tough because I feel like there's a difference between a hobbyist person who does jiu-jitsu and then a competitor. If you're a competitor, you have to get inside somebody's mental and try to break them down.
True, if you're trying to win.
Exactly, but you have to figure out okay, I'm not competing in the gym, I'm competing at the competition. So that's
competition. It's kind of okay to be an asshole.
In a way, I mean, I don't, I see that people do and they celebrate and stuff. I try to be as humble as possible.
Does that happen a lot though?
It does, yeah.
I mean, I see some clips of people getting crazy with the smacks.
And they get chippy, and people
get a little chippy, yeah.
And then you just, but I mean, it's high pressure scenarios sometimes. Coaches are coaching and yelling, everybody's there yelling, and you're really trying to beat this guy, and maybe you're going against a guy from a rival gym, so there's added pressure. But I love all that pressure. I'll face whoever, win, lose or draw. I'm fine with losing, But
because that comes with the experience, though.
Exactly.
You kind of been there, done that, and when you have that, you can approach it a little bit more calmly.
Yeah.
And centered, which is sick. Man, I love the idea. I'm hoping my body holds up enough to where I can actually.
Oh, you'll be good, man.
If I can get to man, I was gonna say blue belt, but I just know myself. If I ever got to a blue belt, I'm gonna want to keep getting to a purple.
Yeah, just set your standards low. People just want to be a lot of people walk into a jiu-jitsu school and they'll be I want to be a world champ. No, or you get the guys walking in, they're I want to be a fighter. Yeah. It's okay, well, what's your background? Oh, you're 30. You've never wrestled. You don't know how to throw a punch. You being a fighter, it's probably not going to happen. When people come in and say that, but I mean, but what you just said, a goal of a blue belt, that's a very obtainable. You give an honest year and a half, 2 years of hard training, you're a blue belt.
That comes with the knowledge of the sport too. Like I said, I am a huge fan. I'm not sitting here as a poser saying I'm some expert, but I know the sport and I know jiu-jitsu, and I know that if I were ever to one day become a blue belt, that comes with hours and hours and hours and hours, and that means that you're if you've approached a blue belt, that means you have a base of knowledge in jiu-jitsu. That's that kind of
exactly.
That a fair assessment?
Well, they used to say a blue belt means that you can beat anyone who's untrained. No matter how big they are. I don't know if that's totally true anymore, to be honest, because there's a lot of just freak athletes out there that can walk into a jiu-jitsu school and say a college football player can walk into a jiu-jitsu school with minimal training or zero training and beat up blue belts. It does happen, but it all depends on your style of grappling and how serious you take it. Oh man, it's totally
in all sports you see it too. I mean, there's people that are not nearly as talented as others, but they excel just because of their freak genetics.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it happens. Look at Francis. I mean, in the beginning, he got Francis Ngannou got a lot of shit for just being a crazy wild man. But this man has literally got himself to fight the best of the best boxers. Exactly. He's not even a boxer.
Yeah.
And was knocking out all the MMA guys too, including Stipe, who
with
was
not the best
amazing.
technique,
Yeah.
He just needed one shot.
Stipe, it was a sight to see to watch Stipe humble Francis in that first fight.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I'm not proud of saying it. I don't even want to say it out loud.
Gotta say it now.
It's so embarrassing.
Gotta say it.
It's embarrassing. So we were just talking about before. I went out to Boston for the open workouts. That was this fight. That was UFC 220 when Stipe fought Francis. I met Stipe, bro. Shook his hand. This guy, I don't know if you can notice, he signed the shirt 3 times with 3 different markers because he was like, "Oh shit, did I hit it?" I'm like pulling out the fucking thing. Hold on. Technical difficulty. Hit the. All right, and we're back. Yeah, so Stipe signed the shirt 3 times. Such a fucking the man, just the man. And there's firemen there too. I couldn't wait to meet him. It was just such a cool scene. It was like positive Stipe energy. And what does my dumbass do? I go home later that week and throw one of the biggest bets I ever put on Francis Ngannou.
That's terrible. This is the first one though?
The first one.
So I'm glad Stipe won, bro.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, this guy gave
no
me
loyalty. No loyalty.
And I was rooting for Stipe. Like if anything, I wanted Stipe to win. But I was just like, my gambling side of me was like, Francis is just a freak, and all you have to do is touch you, and you go to bed. And he did hurt him a few times, but man, Stipe just grinded that one out for a win.
Yep.
All right, what are we doing time-wise on this? 22? 27? Okay. Nice. All right, it's pretty good. So, all right. Just trying to think if there's anything. So, I just want to sum that up. So, you're opening a gym in Highland, New York. Yep. And if we're going to be doing this podcast, which I already like the vibe in which it's going. And this is day one. We had no pre-talks.
This is the test drive. This is the test drive for sure.
No talks about how this is going to go. And I made a joke even before that my only notes for the podcast was, now I already forget his name. Like Andre Silva or something. It's not even so. Scroll down a little bit. On here is the prelims, actually. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, it's like 2 more fights.
Right there. Andre Lima.
Yeah.
My only notes in my notepad were Andre Lima got bit.
He got bit, and then he tattooed the bite mark on his arm.
Yeah.
Brother, ew. What are you doing? Not sanitary, and also just cringe in general. But
yeah. So this is like if we're gonna post a picture, this would be the one. I already screenshotted.
He's on his own journey with that one.
He actually was like, the dude he was fighting, Igor, had his back pressed against the fence, and he bit the inside of his arm.
What sucks about that, that guy was 20 years old. And
Igor?
Yeah, and he got instantly cut. Kind of like Dana just said, he's done. Just like when Paul Daly punched Koscheck, you're done. He said he'll never be in the UFC again. Yeah. He's 20 years old with a lot of promise, and he was looking good in that fight too. It's like,
yeah, that's wild. Because what was her name? That girl, I forget her name.
Oh, with the eye gouge.
Kohara. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And she was like, she was getting choked, and she was reaching back, like sticking.
Yeah, she was in a guillotine.
It was one of the dirtiest things I've ever seen, and Dana kind of likes her because she is scrappy and wild.
That's crazy, right? Because
and it's like, all right, he bit. I don't know why he bit him. That was a weird move. He had his back, but he bit his arm and he got disqualified. So that, I don't know. That was the
really second fight of the night, right? The first fight was Usman.
It was actually the second. You know?
Okay.
But yeah, so the fight night that happened last night was headlined by Rose Namajunas and Amanda Ribas. Which was actually a good fight. It was a great fight.
It wasn't bad, yeah.
As far as like technique, because I feel like Amanda at the Rose controlled it, but Amanda really did make Rose work for it. I feel like it wasn't an easy night for Rose. They both got touched a little bit. Amanda was just a little inexperienced compared to Rose. That's what it looked like. It just felt like Rose had
definitely. You could see the striking experience. Like Amanda, she threw like 2 or 3 really nice like spinning side kicks, and they landed to the body, and we were like, damn. And then she just spammed it for 5 rounds, and it got slower and slower. And against somebody like Rose, she's just gonna step out and she's gonna piece you up. So it was kind of tough.
She definitely became predictable. She was spinning crazy that fight. It just got out of hand. And Rose, always known for her amazing movement and her like crisp jabs.
Yep.
And that's really like what got it done.
Switching stances, hitting all the levels. Like she's just probably
some beautiful combos, landed some big shots as well here and there.
Yeah.
It was but Amanda Ribas durable as hell and scrappy and game, and we were talking about it. Like Rose is just a matter of what mentality she's showing up with. If she
Very true.
And that goes to tell you that's everything about you need to know about fighting right there. Like if you put Conor McGregor confidence in Rose Namajunas,
I think it's over. She's beating everybody.
I think she might even beat Amanda Nunes in a stand-up fight if she had that confidence. I mean, that might be a crazy statement, but
maybe like her versus Valentina would be something.
I mean? Like,
if you give her Valentina's like stoicism, 100%.
Oh yeah, that's even a fair.
Now that she's at flyweight, that'd be a crazy fight.
If she had a Valentina mentality with her skill set, she can pretty much beat anyone in her. She already has beaten the greats. Joanna
exactly.
twice, Weili twice.
Yeah, it's almost like we're talking about her like she isn't already great, but it's just like. I guess that's the difference between she, like, her being the greatest of all time. You know what I mean?
Because we've seen glimpses of it. That's what it is. You see the glimpses of how amazing she is as a fighter. She really doesn't get enough credit as like a pioneer and also just like a person. She's a great person. And I don't know. I've always respected Rose. I like her a lot. It upsets me that she gets in her own way, but it was a good showing of her last night. It was a good fight. She headlined it. It was, it was Apex.
I'd like to see where she ends up on the rankings.
Which, by the way, brother ill about the Apex.
Yo, the Apex needs to end.
I'm done with the Apex.
It's rough.
This isn't COVID anymore.
You know, it sucks because there's no crowd, and then like when you see them walking out, and she's like saying to herself like, "I'm the best. I'm the best," and she's just in an empty room saying that. It's just weird. I know. It's not the same.
It's supposed to be met with crowd noise and Joe Rogan over it. Like she said, you want Joe Rogan in DC talking about that on the way out. She's that iconic of a person where she deserves that. But
100%.
At the same time, maybe it's like maybe she even wanted this to be like a little bit more low key. But she still headlined, and I felt like you could see it on her. She was nervous. The tension was there. All right, and then what else we had? Scroll down.
Co-main.
The Tafa fight.
Tafa gang.
Depressing. Carl Williams.
It was depressing.
Was able to just get a hold of him here and there, just enough to hold him and tire him. Where Tafa was dangerous the whole time on the feet. Touched him a few times, put him on Queer Street. Yeah. Had him doing the chicken leg dance.
Tafa's one of those guys that, like, these Samoan guys, like, you just don't want to cut them because at any moment they could just knock you out in like 10 seconds. And they're always down to go out on their shield. Yeah. So watching him fight is just like, it's always worth putting down a bet on him for a first-round knockout. Exactly. And, like, you want to see heavyweights that swing for the fences like that. It's always fun to watch.
It's so true. He could be fighting anyone in the division. You're like, oh, well, it's plus 800 for a knockout.
Yeah.
I'll throw a couple bucks on it just in case.
And it's tough because Carl Williams was
and you're probably gonna
big
hit 50%
favorite.
of the time.
Yeah.
No matter who it is.
Carl Williams, a minus 180 favorite. And, like, he did what he had to do to win, but it kind of sucks, too, because he's not going to move anywhere from that. Like, he just kind of had a somewhat boring performance, but that's what he needed to do to win.
Although it was against Tafa, who has become kind of a name. So, I guess as his first fight, I think was it his first fight? I think it was his first fight in the UFC.
Off the Contender Series, I think, right?
Series. And to beat a guy like Tafa, who is that dangerous, it's not going to, like, move the needle as far as excitement, but the matchmakers will be like,
it's still a co-main event win, at the end of the day.
He'll get like a interesting matchup going forward, I guess.
Yeah.
And then shout out Edmund Shabazian was on the card too. Fought AJ Dobson, who was a scary dude in himself. Yeah. He was looking dangerous. And Edmund, what we were talking about, had a little bit of a loose streak going, but all against hard opponents.
Yeah, and this was like a must win for him, I feel. And like he showed his experience. He got rocked early, and like he's been there. He's so tough too. Yeah, it was awesome to see him just come back.
Got wobbled. Looked like it wasn't looking good, but he really got back to his feet, kept his guard high, shook off the cobwebs, and stayed the course. Like got his composure back and found the knockout win.
And we were talking about Edmund Shabazian. Like he had that hype when he first came to the UFC, like similar to like Ian Gary in a way, not the negative hype, but just the hype in general because he was a Ronda Rousey training partner and everything. And he's still young. He's 26 now, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's like he came into the UFC at what, 21, 20, something like that. So, he kind of got rushed too quick. It would have been cool to see him on the regional scene for a little bit because he's that good. And now hopefully he comes into his own. I think he's going to.
Google Edmund Shabazian, just like that. Yeah, I was gonna say you might have to copy and paste that one.
That's a tough spelling.
Fucking Shabazian.
What nationality is he?
What is that? Armenian or whatever?
Yeah,
that's Armenian or Romanian. I think it's Armenian though.
Yeah.
Go to his fight history.
Yeah, he could be really good. There's a lot of fun matchups for him.
Carrie's a good searcher too on the thing. I don't know who's gonna replace you.
Yeah, right.
K Coast. That should still be like your separate editor, like account, like K Coast the editor, All right, so look at this. So the fight got canceled. Go to the 2003 first. We'll just go back from here. He lost to Anthony Hernandez, who is a savage. Fluffy.
Yeah.
He has just proven himself to be a dog and durable. I think, if anything, Edmund probably, if I remember right, fought well, but this guy has like that sea-level Kane cardio.
He does,
He's
right?
like a baby Kane Velasquez. He's just great wrestler and durable and tough. So maybe not like the highest level or big name, but Anthony Hernandez and did you see his last win? He just like had a huge win over an opponent that should have probably beat him, Anthony. We'll click him next. I'm like drawing a blank on who he fought, but go back to 22. All right. So that was his one win in between against a guy who is inexperienced, a nobody.
11-6. Yeah.
Yeah. Click 2021, and then these are all the names here. So you got like Jack Hermanson coming off a huge win of his own. He's looking the best he's ever looked lately.
Yeah.
And is a elite grappler. That's a tough matchup for Edmund. And then go up what was the first one? Nasruddin Imavov, who is also a savage right now. High level prospect, 2020. And then we talked about Derek Brunson was the one that really kicked it off.
So I think he was going into this fight 1-3 in his last 4.
Yeah. And everyone he lost to was pretty elite, you know.
Yeah.
And now go back to 2023 and click Anthony Hernandez, because I just want to see, just click his name. It'll bring you to it. I'll go down. Oh yeah, he just beat Roman Kopylov.
Yeah.
And that dude Roman Kopylov, I actually kind of thought that Roman, like, his striking is so good that he was going to get it done. And he did tag up Anthony, but Anthony, typical fashion, dogged it out, came back and got the submission win. He's been subbing everyone.
Late rounds too. Always like round 2, late in round 2, round 3. Yeah, he just pulls it out. It's crazy.
He really puts that pressure. He puts that pressure. All right, go back to the fight card. We'll just skim to see if there's anything. We already mentioned the bite. This guy Peyton Talbot looked good, and he fought another prospect, Cameron Simon, who's the South African prospect, and this is a pretty close odds. That guy Peyton Talbot's going to be good.
Yeah, he looks like my boy Manny.
Yep, shout out Manny.
Identical.
Scroll down. Oh, Billy Q.
Sad.
Billy Q caught the L to Yusuf Zalal, the Moroccan, by sub.
That dude's so well-rounded, huh? Good striking, good grappling.
Poor Billy Q. He's one of those guys where he'll never get like an easy matchup, you know?
Yeah.
Fought Edson the last time. Like, it's just his style. He's like, you got to put, like, he's exciting. So they can't wait to use him against, like, good people.
He's down to scrap anyone.
All right. Scroll down. Let's see if there's anything else. Keep going. I think it's time to pull up the next week's fight card. Pull up next week's. We'll just do a quick little a quick skim and maybe a few predictions here. We'll start with the main event. Erin Blanchfield taking on Manon Fiorot from France, the French lady. I was going to say Frenchman, but how would you say that? The French madame. Taking on the American Erin Blanchfield, going down in Atlantic City. We were talking about this might be you won't be around.
Yeah.
So if we even do the podcast next week, we're going to have to figure out the producing thing, but we might have to do it. Yeah. I guess this is why we need to structure how we talk about things, because we're all over the place. But
we might have to do a recap of this after. Yeah. So this is kind of like our preview.
We should also mention, while you were giving your background, that you're actually flying out to Vegas this weekend to go for
I'm doing ADCC Trials. It's like the biggest. It's the biggest tournament in the United States. Yeah, it's every 2 years.
Yep.
And
huge tournament,
it's
trial
crazy.
runs to get into the main tournament.
To get into ADCC.
Which now, crazy fact you brought up, if you were to win this tournament.
So basically, like, if I were to win the tournament, which is like 90 people, it's unlikely, but I do want to do the, just for the experience.
You're going to go for it.
It would be. You're not
going to roll over.
I would be the last seed in ADCC, which is the Grappling Olympics, and you would get a first round a matchup with somebody like Gordon Ryan, a number 1 ranked competitor in all the weight class in all the world, basically for the Olympics.
There's a world in a world that's like, it's very. We'll find out by the end of this weekend if there's a world that the guy next to me right here could be rolling with Gordon Ryan.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's
who is on all the roids and is like literally like known as the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world
of all time. I think too. So, yeah. But yeah, does
that taint him with the steroids and stuff, or is that just normal now?
You know what? Everybody in jiu-jitsu that competes at a high level is on steroids. Unfortunately, yeah. Obviously, I'm not. I wish I was, but I'll get on some TRT eventually.
People have always said they need to make leagues where like steroid leagues and non-steroid leagues. I think that should be like a jiu-jitsu thing. Like there's a clean league, a USADA league, and then there's and then there's just do whatever the fuck you want. Let's see the biggest freaks we can make and watch them roll with some highly intelligent technique, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of just like...
Because he comes from one of the greatest camps and one of the greatest minds.
100%, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. At least they're not getting hit in the head. Like, once you start having, like, you know, brain trauma factored in, then, like, the steroid thing is, you're really cheating. But if in jiu-jitsu, I mean, so many guys are on it. I just wish they were more honest about it, because they're doing it most of the time for recovery and for injury, which is fine. But then some of these guys get so juiced up, and then it's just like...
But that's how it starts. It's like the same thing with Conor. It's like Conor had, like, the story's like, well, he had to do the steroids to recover. And it's like, yeah, now look at him. He loves it.
Exactly.
You get on it and you
now
love
he's
it.
Talking about 185.
I think the same thing kind of happened with Anderson, but I have to say, Anderson never gave me vibes where he was trying to use that to his advantage.
I think he just hit a certain age and he realized he wasn't moving, and he wasn't recovering like he used to.
But he didn't look like jacked and like he was like John
never.
Jones. Pico Graham John Jones, when he fought DC the second time, that guy does not lose to anybody.
Or like Chael versus Anderson 1.
Yeah,
that dude was so juiced up.
Yeah, exactly. Like being able to do that to the prime Anderson. So all right, so quick rundown on this, because this is there's some fun matchups here. We'll start with the Aaron Blanchfield, Manon Fiorot going down in Atlantic City. Could be some cheap tickets. Might have to see what that's about. Yeah,
you should go, man.
I might, because our other boy Manny, not your Manny, my Manny. Pause.
Hey yo,
brother, ew. Was talking about going too, so I'm gonna have to check in with him, because that could be a thing. That actually sounds fun. I would like to go to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially everything. So Aaron Blanchfield, Manon Fiorot. I kind of like Aaron Blanchfield in this. I think her grappling. I think she's sturdy. I think she even has good striking too.
That's what people don't realize. She's so well rounded, and like. Her jiu-jitsu, I think, is the best in the whole division. Yeah. And then you factor in the fact that she can wrestle. So that's the difference between her and a lot of the girls that are jiu-jitsu practitioners that get into MMA. Yeah. Like, you watch somebody like Mackenzie Dern, like, shoot terrible takedowns. Like, nothing against her, but Aaron Blanchfield has very, very good wrestling. Yeah. And then her Muay Thai is good, too. So I'm going with her, and I think she's going to get an early finish, like, within 3 rounds by sub.
I think she gets it by finish, too. And I kind of agree with the sub as well. And then we got Vicente Luque, Joaquin Buckley as the co-main, which is high level MMA. More on the Vicente side. Joaquin still kind of green, but is always dangerous as hell.
He is.
If I'm just like off bat without putting too much thought into it, I just think that Vicente is so like also well rounded and like an incredible fighter and poised and patient. But Buckley is explosive. But I'm gonna probably say Luque I'll say Luque by decision. If it's a 3-rounder, it is.
I like that too. I'm going to go with Luque by finish. I think Buckley's going to tag him, to be honest. Luque gets hit.
He does.
But man, when he gets hit, he bites down and he throws. And this next matchup, I'm not happy about.
Yeah, Chris Weidman and Bruno Silva. Poor Weidman, coming back off catastrophic injury, had to fight Brad Tavares, one of the thickest Samoans with the thickest legs that his strategy is always leg kicks, and you put Chris Weidman coming off a leg break against him.
Yep.
You get your leg kicked off in that fight. Pretty much re-broke your leg. Not the same part, but a different part.
Yeah.
He did. He like broke his shit. Now he's back again. He's fighting Bruno Silva, another Brazilian who is a striker, and leg kicks are just part of the game now.
Yeah.
And that's just the sad thing. So just to save time and like the rest of the card, plenty of talent, but not as big names as those 3 fights are huge names, and obviously we're on a time restriction for today, so I feel like this was a good first run.
Yeah, who do you got in that fight though? Weidman versus Silva? Yeah.
Shit, man. I mean, I'll say this. I think if Weidman gets a hold of him, which shouldn't be too hard for him. I think we talked about this last night too. Sometimes when you're hurt, you're hesitant. If he just can actually just shoot his shot and not worry about a knee or anything, and just go for a takedown and tire him out and then slow him down in that first round, I think he'll be okay. But I don't know, man. I'll just say Weidman, it's too much involved with him for me to feel confident in him.
I'm not crazy confident, but I'm going with Weidman as well. I just want him to end on a victory. Like, I would love to see him win. Same. It's in Atlantic City. Yep. It's close to his hometown almost. I know he's going to have a lot of people there. I just want him to win, retire, get a standing ovation.
I agree.
Like the whole thing, and then just kind of go out Without
just be like this is still my boy.
Without the Tony Ferguson treatment of like just hanging around too long.
Bring his dad in and be like, this is still my dad. yeah, exactly. I think he could get it done. I mean, he's an elite wrestler. And I just think maybe if he could bite down one more time and grind out a win, and then I agree. I think it would be the perfect time to be like, listen, I literally gave my body to this sport. He was a champion. He has nothing more to prove. He
knocked out.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna climb the middleweight division and become champ again?
Yeah, he's at that age.
I would never want to limit anybody, but bro, you broke your leg in half. You wrestled your entire life. Your body can't be feeling too good. So just take your wins. You beat Anderson Silva twice. You beat the GOAT. Just be happy with that. You're a champion. And become a coach and help your people, help your teammates, and you have a big family.
I think we should hit that next fight just because I was looking at this one dude.
Go down.
Yeah, just to hit this one.
Oh, Cedric Dumas?
Yeah,
he's a scary dude now. And he's fighting in Uzbekistan.
I was looking at the other guy from Uzbekistan. I'm going to butcher this name. Nursultan Ruzabov. So this dude is like, I think he has like 45 pro fights, which is crazy.
Click his name.
Yeah, he's got a ton of fights. It's like insane, his record. Let's see what it says.
Oh yeah, 35-8-2.
35-8-2.
Experienced as hell.
Out of those 8 losses, he only got finished twice.
Oh, he's way bigger. 6'5".
Yeah.
And this guy's big, so I thought he was going to be smaller.
So
down. Let's see the reach.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's actually got a longer reach.
Little less, but that experience, I'm already going.
So that experience, and he's got 20 wins by sub, and you're fighting a guy who's what, 6-1 or 9-1?
9-1.
Yeah. Somebody told me he looks like 21 Savage. I thought that was funny.
Like fucking 42 Savage is huge, bro.
Yeah, he is big. But
this guy's bigger. So
he's bigger, and then just the experience. I'm always like, whenever you see a guy with like a 9-1 record, I feel like it's tough to throw him on a main card versus a guy with what? How many fights is that? 45. 45 pro fights, and it's like, damn. So this dude has been on the regional scene in Uzbekistan, probably fighting in Russia, beating, hard
competition.
Yeah, and he's got 8 losses. I bet you those 8 guys are also just like him, just straight up savages. So it's
the regional scene in Uzbekistan has to be tough.
And I think he's a 3-1 favorite anyway, which makes sense. But he's worth throwing in a parlay for all the people betting out there. If you want to throw him with like Blanchfield and throw a few favorites together and make a decent parlay.
Good parlay.
I think this is a good card to do that.
And Cedric Dumas, though, I will say he's one of those genetic guys though that's like explosive where like anything can happen, but when you like you said though, when you get these guys he's also, you can't take away from his genetics. He's 6'5".
Yeah.
And you have that many fights and you're from Uzbekistan, that's just a concoction for elite.
20 submission wins. He's going to be an insane sambo guy.
So maybe worth the prop bet of a submission win by,
I think so,
Rubazov, whatever. Yeah.
If you can't pronounce their name, they're probably pretty good at jiu-jitsu and grappling.
That's very true. All right. So on that note, just to recap. So honestly, I feel like we got something here. We just got to figure out the details behind the scenes type of thing.
Yeah.
As well as we're getting a thumbs up from the producer. Good vibes. I think that's what you're referring to. And just once more, we'll just throw out Snake Hill Gym opening soon.
Yeah,
hoping to be May, right?
May's the plan. Yeah, I got some things I need to work on, but we're getting there.
Yep, you're bringing in a lot of great guys from your other gym.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cool collaboration because I'm still going to be training at my current gym, and I'm going to be opening up this gym and trying to get a bunch of new guys, and I think it's going to be overall good for the community in this area with jiu-jitsu. So I'm excited.
It's important though, keep your roots where you come from, but also you're an extension of them. So all I'm trying to say is not to get too cheesy here, but make them proud.
Yeah,
you're a solid dude. You come from a solid background, solid family. You're in it with your brother. You guys are still competing and savages and more than competing, but great at it. And fans of the sport. You can't go wrong, bro. You can't go wrong.
I don't think so. I think it's a good recipe right now.
The only thing you have to learn now is just dealing with business aspects. But I feel like a lot of times, and this is very true in the yoga community as well, sometimes when you're a great business person, the vibe lacks. When you're too good at business, your culture
true.
and vibe is shit.
Yes, and culture for me is going to be like a big part of the gym. Like I actually wrote down 3 pillars and I want the gym to go by, and it's culture, community, combat. 3 words all starting with C, so it kind of has a rhyme to it. But culture for me is like, you know, what's the vibe when you show up at the gym? Who are what's the quality of people that are there?
Yep.
If somebody comes in and they throw off the vibe, it's like they have to go and no hard feelings.
Yeah. Or be addressed and taken aside. And
exactly. And then the community thing, I want to do a lot of things within the community and kind of grow that, because I know there's a lot of people out there that want to train and they just don't have the means. I know there's younger kids who could be really, really good and they need an outlet. So I want to kind of be that also, that beacon of light. And then combat is kind of like, you know, I'm not running an MMA gym, but I want to have very combat oriented grappling.
Yeah.
Where we're constantly thinking about that as well, to just kind of, you know, make the sport better in general.
Evolve your jiu-jitsu in a way where you can compete in all different sorts of ways. Or
exactly.
you could excel in jiu-jitsu and in the combat sports as well, like MMA. That's really the only one that involves combat jiu-jitsu.
Even just in general, people always
you got the cauliflower ear.
Oh, it's so bad, man.
It's pretty sick too.
It's like a wonton. Yeah, it's rough.
I noticed it before earlier before we started.
Yeah, but going back to that's true too. But also, just you want people to excel and be confident in their jiu-jitsu in general, just in case, God forbid, you have to use it.
True.
So that's the way I view it too. Because MMA jiu-jitsu is just the same as self-defense jiu-jitsu. It's all you have to. When people are like, "Oh, what works in a fight?" Well, watch MMA. You'll see exactly what works in a fight against the best trained guys. But people, I think people lack that sometimes when they focus on the sport aspect of things. So I'm kind of just gonna try to bring that back in a way.
And it's, you know, no pun intended, but that's just evolution in general. It's like things are meant to grow. Sometimes people are purists in the yoga world too, and I'm just like, every now and then you gotta throw on a hip hop song and get loose and have fun.
So it's like with the gym evolution that I started with and I still train with to this day. It's kind of like we've always grown with things. Like Mike's very good with that. The head coach over there, Mike Palladino, he's very good with evolving with the game of jiu-jitsu and evolving as a martial artist, and everybody kind of follows suit with that, which is good, because sometimes you go to these like martial arts gyms and guys are just like a certain way. No, this is how it is. Like they don't want change, and they have to be a certain everything has to be a certain way. But yeah, anyways, I'm just rambling at this point.
No, it's cool, man. And honestly, this is a good sign though, because this just shows you that we have so much to talk about. And you know,
we're gonna talk about it anyway. We might as well record it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And the more we do this too, and the more structure we have, the easier it'll come. And yeah, man, I just think it's gonna be a great tool to grow the gym, to even just promote awareness to like the sport and everything it brings, from lifestyle to family to friends. It's all part of it. It's a beautiful thing, and these are all reasons why I became a fan anyway. It's like there's nothing like one-on-one sports anyway. I've always been a fan of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm big on team sports. They all have their different things, but man, like, you know, MMA, jiu-jitsu, combat sports, it's some of the most humbling shit you could possibly do or find. And we see people, you know, take hard L's all the time, and you know what? It's part of it. It's a different kind of a L in the combat world. So, yeah, happy to have you, bro. Happy to have you aboard, and you know, I want this to be like a partnership, equal thing, and I'm more excited about what you bring and what you can teach me than even, you know. So yeah, so good stuff, man, good stuff. And we'll leave it on that note. Cue the music. We will hopefully try. Well, we won't be back next week because you're going to be in Vegas.
Yeah, we might have to catch it after Sunday.
It's okay though. Hopefully we'll figure out a way. Even if I have to hold it down for a week, and then we'll. Oh, Sunday. Will you come back?
I come back Sunday. Okay. I might come back early enough to do something Sunday night. That would be cool.
We'll see, and especially if we find like a replacement. I'm gonna get busy after that. There's some stuff to be done, but the music's going. We will see you soon. We'll be back.
Peace.
Brother, ew.